the Tour de France. What sort of things will Froome be looking to do between now and the next time he races?
Well, he'll be looking to get through this race. It's not over yet. He had a very good start to this race with the prologue win, taking 6 seconds away from Talansky. For me, Talansky is a major threat in this race, finishing second last year and full of confidence already this year. So for me, it's not all over. And this weekend is going to be a general classification day, because we've got the mountain stage, the Queen stage on the Saturday, with a time trial around Geneva on the Sunday. So for me, today and the next 2 days are for the sprinters, but they've got to go over this climb. And we've seen quite often in a lot of stage races so far this year that some of the other teams are prepared to go on the attack, and especially on the descent. And this final climb is setting itself up. It's a hard climb with a tricky descent, so who knows. And again, for me, there's a lot of attacking riders in this main group. Mercato you've mentioned already. Moreno Moser tried yesterday. I'm pretty sure he'll try today. But so many riders have got everything to go for, and it's another stage win up for grabs.
Well, one man I haven't mentioned too much is the Swiss rider Michael Alberzini, who's another man who likes to attack just over the top of a climb or on the descent, riding for Orica Green Edge. Again, a special day it would be for them to win today. We've already mentioned the fact that it's Anzac Day for the Australian and New Zealanders, commemoration of the sacrifices that all the soldiers made in combat around the world. Alberzini, a late but extremely popular inscription for this race. His participation only confirmed at the start of last week, and he has worn the leader's jersey previously at the Tour de Romandie in 2008. Never won a stage though.
We will step aside for a brief moment. beIN Sports coverage of the Tour de Romandie continues in a matter of seconds. Stick around. Welcome back. Less than 42 kilometers, 26 miles left in stage 2 of the Tour de Romandie. For more information on this event and all of our programming on beIN Sport, please visit beinsport.tv. You can also follow us on Twitter. We love to hear your tweets at beIN Sport USA for the English channel, ES beIN Sport for the Spanish. We now return to the race in progress.
Again, no surprise that I Am Cycling want to put a man in the break. Expect them to try and do something at least every day this week.
Well, the good thing about it, Brando's taking the first sprint. He has taken another 6 points, so he will lead that because he took some points yesterday. And he'll be thinking of trying to stay away and take this next sprint towards the finishing line. But I think it's going to be very difficult for him to stay away. 1 minute 19 isn't a lot in this final climb, so I'm pretty sure that the attacking starts, because you can see across the front the peloton just controlled by Sky. They know they don't have to bring these riders back just yet, and it's all about saving as much energy. We're going to see some exciting racing when we come up towards this final climb, and I think by then the 3 riders in front could all be back together.
The calm before the storm. 40.9 kilometres to go. The gap now at just 1 minute 20, and as Brian Smith suggested, everything just easing off a little behind. Very interested to see if the likes of Moreno Moser can get involved today. Has been trying all spring to try and make a breakthrough in a big classic. Of course, he did win Strade Bianche, as we alluded to yesterday. Mark Cavendish still in there. For now, I should add, with a little asterisk on the end. Chris Sutton, the man doing the work at the front, in front of Peter Kenyuk. Next one on is Gabriel Vache. And Josh Edmondson, just in front of Richie Porte. Well, next to him would be none by plenty of big riders from Megaformer Quick Step. We saw Christoph van der Walle active yesterday, Peter Velets. But Grabs could be a man that they need a little later on today to try and pull things along on the flat for the likes of Johnny Meersman. Bobby Starr celebrating a special day. Sylvester Schmidt there, just stretching his mountain legs. He's a very, very good climber from Poland. But it's actually Alejandro Valverde, their leader's birthday today. So happy birthday to him. 33 today, the Spaniard. Luke Durbridge again. It is now not too far away from the finish line for the second time. Just a few kilometres out. Garmin had a quiet day yesterday. There was Ryder Hagestyle all the way at the back of the peloton, sitting right next to Lachlan Morton. Johnny Hergeland right at the back, the breakaway showman from Zeeland province in the Netherlands. Marcus Burghardt looks back as Hergeland struggles to hang on for a moment. All back together now. These guys need to stay together to continue working together if there's any chance of them hanging along for a little longer. Hergeland in the middle already showed great character to bounce back from that shocking 2011 Tour de France crash, and they can all remember the images, the bloody images of his legs with the barbed wire and the like. It's bad enough. His training crash again, one of several we had this winter. I mean, Alessandro Ballan, another BMC man, is still out injured. Looking forward to his return, but that was an even more horrific one on the east coast of Spain in training. Approaching a minute to the gap now, 1 minute and 3. Everton slightly further stretched out, but that's just because they're on the descent. There's still no rush really for these guys. Certainly not from Sky's case anyway.
Just looking at the BMC team of today, they've come here with Steve Morabito more for the overall, and Adam Blythe, he tried yesterday, just got caught too far near the front with about 500 metres to go, and wasn't able to get his sprint out and sat up and finished, I think, just outside the top 30. Brent Buchwalter, a very strong rider from the USA, and Burghardt, who's also on the break. Matthias Frank, very good climber, and expected to see him in this final climb. Dominic Nair's a good rouleur rider that can ride on the front, very strong. Marco Pinotti, I think for me he might be waiting for the weekend and the mountains and the time trial. Danilo Weiss we saw on the move yesterday in the final climb. So again, a wee bit more pressure on the BMC team in the red for this stage today, and also for IAM. We've seen also Marcel Weiss on the attack yesterday in the final climb. So it might be another day for him to try and do something. Certainly some class riders from this area of Switzerland, and the super motivation for BMC IAM team. But let's not forget there's so many other good teams in this race that can try and do something.
David Lopez there doing some bottle running for the Sky Pro Cycling team. Something he's very good at and very used to doing. There's Marco Pinotti, who you were talking about a moment ago.
Just looking at Thibaut Pinot in the white jersey, the best young rider, and he rode terrifically in the Tour de France last year, and looks as if he's setting himself well for this year's Tour de France. So the next big hope of French cycling rests on that young man's shoulders.
17 seconds off the overall lead, Thibaut Pinot, after he did one of the best prologue time trials that we saw on the uphill course the other day. I'd still feel a little uncomfortable calling it a prologue. It certainly wasn't that. Only in name. Simon Spilak at the back, number 18 for Katusha in the red, former winner of this race after Valverde was suspended. Gap just growing out to 1 minute and 15 again as we go through this wooded area. And the scenery is quite stunning around here. Actually moving over into the German-speaking cantons, as I mentioned. It's the canton of Solothurn at the moment, just in the northwest of the country if you want to situate yourself. Adi Brendel talked about him going for the points jersey and the fact that he's got a great chance of being in it at the end of the day. He was the winner of it in 2011. Last time he rode the Tour de Romandie. Markus Burghardt at the front is a German rider from Saxony, but he actually lives in Switzerland, on the shores of Lake Constance, or the Bodensee as it's known in German. He's right on the border with his native country, former Team High Road man. His first one on the road was a pretty special one. Gent-Wevelgem back in 2007 burst onto the scene. And he also picked up a stage on the Tour de France a year later. Twice winner of stages here in Switzerland, but on the other big Swiss race, the Tour de Suisse. And in 2010 took 2 stages in that race and the points jersey as well. But ever since his first season at BMC, he hasn't managed to pick up another win.
Well, I don't think his duties at BMC are for trying to win and do his own race. He's a very strong rider. I can in fact remember getting Wevelgem because there was Britain's Roger Hammond was also on the break. I think there was 4 riders came towards the finish and they done the old 1-2, and Markus Burghardt went on and won that great Belgian race. But now we see him at the front of the peloton doing so much work for his team leader Philippe Gilbert, and it's great to see him in this race and great to see him in the attack.
Good to see Markus Burghardt on the attack. It's a shame that he hasn't really had that chance for the last couple of years at BMC, because when he moved to BMC, the brand new World Tour team as it was then, they were signing up riders left and right and spending a lot of money. He said he joined BMC because he wanted the chance to ride a little more for his own victories, but as Brian suggested, he doesn't really look like he's being given that chance. Now 29, and might just have to settle with being a strong rouleur domestique. The odd opportunity in the Classics I'm sure he'll get. There's Lachlan Morton again, number 55, just behind the rider. What he suggested the other day, that Heystal's main preference is the Giro. A very, very exciting young rider, Andrew Talansky of the United States. Garmin's stated leader and their best placed rider as well here after the prologue time trial.
I think for Heystal, he's at the back just relaxing like most of the peloton. He will move up to be by the side of Talansky before this final climb. You can just see the bandage in the left hand elbow of Lachlan Norris, so there's a couple of crashes yesterday, so he's just kind of nursing that injury. And normally after a crash the next day, probably the team manager, director sportive, would just say, look, just try and have an easy enough day and recover, and possibly pick a day later on in the week and try and get on a breakaway and try and do something. But again, the whole of Garmin Sharp have come here to try and win this race, and they've come up a very good team. They've got Talansky, who we've mentioned, lying second at 6 seconds. Tom Danielson, a very experienced rider, good mountain climber. A young rider in Rowan Dennis is a future GC rider, and Reiser Heystal just preparing for the Giro, but his services will be called on by Talansky towards the weekend. Lachlan Morton, who we've mentioned, Navardascos, a very
TT man,
big strong rider, and Christian van der Velde. So they've got a mixture of big motors and experience, and when Talansky looks over his shoulders and asks for some help, he's going to have plenty there.
Markus Burghardt of BMC Pro Cycling just takes his turn on the front. These guys have worked nicely to build out the gap again. You just get the feeling it's happening because the peloton behind don't mind it happening. 1.5 minutes as Burghardt buries himself into his work. The River Aar feeds into the very nearby Lac de Bienne. Some beautiful, stunning scenery on the drive over from Lausanne last night. Actually stayed over right beside the intermediate sprint point that we're going to see again in Pietelen. So we've seen the road and had a good look at it today. Very, very flat from Pietelen in, before